Yes, welcome to the No State Project. I'm your host, Marc Stevens, author of Government Indicted. Glad to be with you here for this September 16th, 2017 edition of the No State Project here on LRN.FM, the Liberty Radio Network. That's right, LRN.FM, where we are live. 3 hours of Anarchy Radio. And big surprise here, since I got the blue tint taken care of, that was actually a fairly easy fix. I guess it's a fairly common problem with some webcams. But now, for the first time, streaming the show live on my YouTube channel. So it is No State Project there on the YouTube. So if you're not subbed, get subbed. It's easier to do it that way. So check that out. No State Project. If you want to join the big show today, 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. You may also join me on Skype. It's Frank Rizzo 3, but please instant message me first because I cannot bring you up on a live broadcast like this. I'm still stuck using the two computers. So, yeah, always instant message me first. You can also email, and I can get that during breaks. markstevens@mail.com, so fairly accessible. And I want to thank everyone for the support of the show. So basically, this show is brought to you by Bill and Dan in New Hampshire. Really appreciate the support. And also Matt for the computer that's allowing us to do this, and Calvin to put that together. Eyal, JT, I do appreciate the support. Nelson, do appreciate the support. And if you want to help support the show, you can do so at markstevens.net and use my cells account for that. But it is September 16, 2007, live from the fortified compound in Mesa, Arizona there, don't you know. And we talk about Anarchy Radio. Anarchy, like I like to be clear about what we're talking about here on the big show. 218-632-9399. Anarchy is an absence of rulers, not an absence of rules. It's commonly thought of to be just chaos and whatnot when those who have a vested interest in the system, they like to mischaracterize anarchy as something bad, and it really isn't. It just means an absence of rulers, that you have to really question people why they think there needs to be or should be a ruling class where the basic principles of right and wrong don't apply to them. To me, it's completely irrational. I mean, well, can you have a ruling class where all the rules apply? I don't really think so. Anyway, that's all it means. Anarchy is, we call ourselves anarchists because we are against the concept and the actual practical application of a ruling class where the basic principles of right and wrong don't apply to them. So it's really, really a dishonest mischaracterization of what anarchy is to say it's about chaos. No, chaos is what we have now, well, controlled chaos in a sense, where the rules just don't apply, or they make the rules up as they tend to go along. So if you want to see chaos, if you want to see a lack of rules, just go to court. Just go to court. Talk to a police officer. They will contradict themselves so often. Well, then again, police officers will only contradict themselves to a certain point, and then the gun comes out. Then now you're guilty of contempt of cop, and they've got to shut you up. And that's the only way a police officer can deal with somebody who's asking questions. That's why some of them with me have gotten very pissed off while on the stand, because they have to answer the questions. Well, to a certain degree, we know that their lawyers will always come to the rescue. So, yeah, somebody's saying, I noticed that on the related channels on my YouTube channel, Alex Jones, there's nothing I can do about that. Absolutely nothing I can do. That is set by the algorithm there on YouTube, and there's not a damn. There's some other. None of the channels that come up on mine or anything that I would even subscribe to, except for maybe, I think, Joe in Hawaii's Ethical Anarchism channel does come up, but the rest are all nothing that I would even consider even visiting and checking out, let alone subscribe to. But yeah, I get a laugh at that too. So hopefully it's not you know, nobody's noticing that and thinking that I'm in the same boat, because I am not an Alex Jones type. There are conspiracies, but gosh, I tell you, to jump on the Trump train and start pushing out that this guy's some kind of political maverick. Yeah, I can't possibly get behind something like that. If politicians, if something could be changed by electing a politician above the local level, if anything could possibly change, yeah, it wouldn't happen. I mean, even if you take something that I not necessarily agree with, but when you take a candidate that's actually talking to the people, and the people want this type of social change, this kind of policy change, the media will do everything in their power to discredit them. I mean, you look at what happened to Ron Paul, and of course, look what they did to Bernie Sanders. So you definitely had some behind-the-scenes manipulation to make sure that somebody who was going to bring out change that the people actually wanted, even if I didn't agree with it, you can see how the establishment, or the media, works hand in glove with the establishment to make sure that that candidate doesn't have any chance whatsoever. I mean, again, the Ron Paul issue, not that I would have voted for Ron Paul. However, he was the only candidate that was even worth considering, that even that you could be fairly confident that if he was elected, would have brought about some significant change. And that's why they can't get in. So the idea that past the local level that you're going to be able to even get a candidate in there that will actually follow through and change policy, bring about more freedom, yeah, history's against you. Doesn't mean it's not possible, but it's not too probable. Okay, Josh, I'm looking here at the... I've never seen any evidence whatsoever that the British title, what was called Esquire, that attorneys use, is actually meaning it's an English title of nobility, and so I don't subscribe to that, and I would. So I know that there's the missing 13th article of amendment, but I think that there's plenty of evidence, and I have documents to actually show that they did print the so-called missing 13th Amendment for. They printed it for decades, but. Still don't think that there's any merit to the claim that just because they're using the word Esquire, which is an honorary kind of title that they're using, it's not a title that is a British title of nobility. So I would drop that kind of stuff. I would stick with just with what we are able to prove. And what we're able to prove is that attorneys are part of a monopoly. Each bar association is created by the Supreme Court of each so-called state, by state government. And as a part of the state government, they are part of a criminal organization. And that is very, very easy to prove. It doesn't matter what stripe of political bias you might call. You could be an anarchist, you can be a voluntarist, you could be a statist, you can be a Republican. There's no getting around the actual evidence that we can verify. And that is that they do have a monopoly. It is by force. My evidence of that, it's all the statutes that make it a misdemeanor to practice what they call practice law without permission. So if you are not a part of a labor organization called a bar association, it's actually a crime. And so that's how they enforce their monopoly. They're rules that they set, and if you don't do what they want you to do, they can have you put in jail. Now, a little different here in Arizona because it's a contempt of court, so they don't go through a lot of the same legal process. Obviously, it's a lot easier to get someone for contempt of court than to actually convict them in front of a jury of a misdemeanor charge. We're up against a break, and I know that we cannot hear the stream on my YouTube stream. You can't hear the network, so you don't have to listen to the commercials, which... I don't. So for those who are watching the stream on YouTube, you're going to notice that I'm not here for a good portion of the commercials. I take a break. So go do what you want for 2-3 minutes and come back. But we'll be back with your calls in just a moment, so don't go away.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippie! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadati.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.lrn.fm. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit the Liberty Radio Network when you shop at Amazon via shop.lrn.fm.
Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, Marc at freetalklive.com.
Did you know you can listen to LRN.FM via our free-to-air satellite channels? We have channels over nearly all of North America and much of Africa. All you need is an affordable receiver and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you are a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage maps and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm. sat.lrn.fm.
Phone records, financial and location data, Prism, Tempora, X-Keyscore, Boundless Informant. Hey y'all, Scott Horton here for offnow.org. Now here's the deal. Due to the Snowden revelations, we have a great opportunity for a short period of time to get some real rollback of the national surveillance state. Now they're already trying to tire us by introducing fake reforms in the Congress. And the courts, they betrayed their sworn oaths to the Constitution and Bill of Rights again and again, and can in no way be trusted to stop the abuses for us. We've got to do it ourselves. How? We nullify it at the state level. It's still not easy, but the Off Now project of the 10th Amendment Center has gotten off to a great start. I mean it. There's real reason to be optimistic here. They've gotten their model legislation introduced all over the place, in state after state. I've lost count, more than a dozen. You're always wondering, yeah, but what can we do? Here's something important, something that can work if we do the work. Get started cutting off the NSA support in your state. Go to offnow.org.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
Yes, welcome back to the big show. Apparently, I was under the impression that the LRN stream was not going to be captured, so I apologize for that. But hey, okay, what can you do? I guess maybe I can just mute that on my end. I had no idea that part of it was going to go through. So wow. But welcome back here to the big show. It's September 16, 2017, live from the Fortified Compound in Mesa, Arizona. I will be live, of course, for episode 35. This Wednesday of the No State Project, commercial free, so we don't have any issues like that there to deal with. But if you want to join me here on the big show, it's 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. And Skype is Frank Rizzo 3. That's Frank Rizzo with the number 3. So, let's see, what do we got here? Do we have a Skype call? No. Yeah. Well, let's just go through some of the things that happened this week. One of the things that I've spoken about before, look, we get a lot of new people tuning into the show, so I want to keep covering. I know some people have complained that we cover, I repeat myself, but we got new listeners, people who are just joining that are looking to defend against these traffic tickets. Whether it's traffic, drugs, taxes, stuff like that. And so we talk a lot about that because that's just what we do here to help bring about a voluntary society. One of the things we're doing is challenging the system, and unfortunately, too many times that boils down to people getting their first experience because of its traffic ticket. That's why I mentioned with the last. I think it was British Columbia. I'm not going to try to pronounce where in British Columbia. Okay. But a lot of times, some of the criticism tends to be that, oh, it's just a traffic ticket. It's meaningless. And aside from the money that's involved, it's really kind of short-sighted. I guess it's kind of a douche move to just kind of blow off someone fighting a traffic ticket. Because it is a way to experience the system. And so if you have someone who is on the fence or is just doesn't want to believe that the system is just a group of criminals, men and women who force us to pay them, that they're nothing more than criminals, it's a criminal organization. For those who are skeptical, which is cool, if the evidence isn't enough for you, we're happening to other people, well, then maybe it'll be enough if you experience it yourself. So for those who go in and especially if it's just a minor traffic ticket, to watch the individuals who are the cogs of the machine and make it all turn, especially these local level people. When you see face to face how evil, how depraved, how callous and cruel these people are, and you say to yourself, this is a traffic ticket. Why are they acting this way? Because they're crooks. They gravitated to a position of authority. These people wanted a position of not only violent domination over other people, but they wanted immunity, complete irresponsibility to their victims. So you can't, these are people, they're attracted to that. These positions of power, so-called, attract the worst of society. Yeah, they're not coming in with face tattoos. They're not coming in, looking like crooks. They come in suits. And the ones in suits tend to be worse. The amount of damage that the ones in suits can do usually far exceeds what a typical criminal can do. It is a platform that attracts the vermin of society, the dregs, if you will, the dregs in suits and ties. Because what kind of a person would seek out a position of violent domination and no responsibility? Immunity. This is not a good person. This is not an honest person. Yeah, I know there are exceptions to every rule. I don't paint with such a broad brush. We're not painting with a broad brush when we said that they're criminals, though, because they're part of a criminal organization. They could be a nice guy, just like, Al Capone's bookkeeper. Just an accountant. He's not going to slit your throat, but he's still supporting and part of a criminal organization. So people get they get experience defending themselves. In addition to that, so they see the system for what it is. Their friends and family who witness that may now have a different perspective. It's not just a few bad apples. It's the whole damn barrel that has to be taught, that is bad. And so they also have the experience, real life experience, defending themselves in court. And that is really valuable. So to try to put that down, it's just a try. No. The value in being able to defend yourself against these crooks, to me, is a tremendous value. So someone who's actually been through this before, and I can't play the intro music. I don't think I can anyway. I don't think I had that set up on this computer to do that. But we're going to welcome back Tom from the Big D. Tom.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing well. Actually streaming live, which is cool. For the first time, this is the first broadcast we're streaming live.
Yeah, I heard you say that at the beginning. How do I find that? Do you have a link you can say real quick or anything, or how do you find it? Just go to YouTube and look for it?
Well, my YouTube channel, No Stay Project.
Okay. Okay, all right. As you normally do on Wednesdays then.
Right, it's yeah, so if you were to use the link on under upcoming events, it'd take you right to the stream that we're doing right now.
All right, cool. So it's available on LRN and on your stream now. Cool deal.
Yeah, and so yeah, we've actually got somebody from I'm just going to say, well, Gothenburg, Sweden. So, hey, welcome aboard.
Well, how is that going to work with commercials, though? Since LRN has commercial breaks and your streaming won't, what are you going to do? Just sit there?
Well, I never sit here during a broadcast, but I do. Well, before and after the for most of the break, I do take a break and get out of here. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to mute up and make it so that you can't hear the LRN stream, and so people could just take a little break themselves and not have to listen to that.
Yeah, so much for the in-between, because some of those conversations that you have that are in between the commercial breaks that end up on the podcasts are usually pretty good. So
yeah. Well, if we have something like that, I can look. If we're going to do something like that, if we're running out of time and we want to get the off-air commentary, then I can mute the stream. It's easy. Yeah, that's right. I don't have to. Yeah, I can just mute the stream from the software, and then we can do that. So if we do need to go and talk off air to say, get some time, yeah, we can do that. It's no problem. And in fact, we're up against a break actually right now, which if those watching the live stream actually can hear now, which is, by the way, echoes from David Gilmour. Unbelievable performance. But we'll just hold tight, Tom. We'll be back here on the No State Project and on LRN and my YouTube stream in just a few moments, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back. Okay, so what we'll do...
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because...
All right, I got that muted, so I'll be right back, everybody.
Oh, yeah, right, so you still got the live stream going.
a few well-chosen words can help level the playing field with Goliath. I'm Holland Cook from survivalspeech.com. Recently, I saw a Yellow Pages ad for an appliance repair company, and the headline read, "Why wait for Sears?" If you're going to the Yellow Pages, the Dead Sea Scrolls of advertising, you're ready to buy right now. So this is an attention-grabbing message. And how about the plumber whose radio ad says, "Call by noon Thursday and we'll be there Saturday at no extra cost"? Smart guy. Most plumbing firms give their crew the weekend off. This one gives them Sunday and Monday off. In the words of a respected advertising executive, cut to the chase, make it quick, and tell me exactly what you can do for me, especially if you're looking for work. For more tips on critical communication skills for the way things are now, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Yes, welcome back to the No State Project. I just realized that I'm going to have to work something out so that my bumpers don't come out. I am probably going to get hit with a copyright for this particular edition, so I probably will pull this video down after I get the other audio uploaded, so I do apologize for that. Maybe the original audio that I'm recording remotely here won't have the stream. I can't understand how the stream is even coming through. That is really, really a surprise, considering if I wanted it to do that, it would probably take me 6 hours worth of work to get that to go. So hopefully I'm not going to get hit with a copyright strike. If the video is not on my YouTube channel, No State Project, then that's why. Because if I have a copyright strike, or not that they'll pull the video, but it's not going to be available in, worldwide, so that's kind of a pain in the neck. So if I have to, I will upload the video that I'm recording remotely that should not have the LRN feed on it. So I want to, we got cut off there from the last segment. Welcome back, Tom.
Hey, now that you just brought that up, who would have a copyright infringement on you? Only the LRN guys, right?
No, of course not. No, Ian wouldn't even think of something like that. No, it would be the copyright hit for the bumpers.
Oh, the music. I got you.
All
right. Anyway.
Well, real quick, hold your thought a second. I am going to recut all the bumpers. I'm going to get rid of all the bumpers we're using now. So even if I can't get rid of the stream on a live stream like this, the LRN stream, there won't be copyrighted music on it. So it won't be. There'll be awesome music. It's just not going to be copyrighted. So
I got you.
Before I forget. Okay, so what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
All right. Well, I called in with one specific question that Dad brought up, and your first part of the show kind of inspired me to think about, first off, last week's show was an excellent show, and the first guy that called in had some great questions about, what to do in a contract law situation, and I believe the system is actually set up decently. It's something to work with. I mean, if they followed the rules, as we just talked about, you said only a traffic ticket. People always say you apply this to only a traffic ticket, but bottom line is you're being charged with a crime or an offense of some kind that they're claiming you owe them money. And if they follow the rules that are very clearly set up, just as in your motion to dismiss, the damages, corpus delicti, standing, and without those, they couldn't have jurisdiction. Those rules should apply to traffic tickets. It's not just traffic tickets. It's anything. I don't care if I'm being charged with jaywalking. The rules should apply. We should all get the OJ standards, as I've heard it called before.
Well, technically they do apply. The only time you can say that that they don't is like with civil traffic, for example, petty traffic. Sometimes they'll say that the technical rules of evidence don't apply. But what they don't get from that, though, what they don't want you to know from that, is that due process does still apply. You're still supposed to get a fair trial, and it is not fair to turn around and violate and actually contradict the rules of evidence just because they says that the technical rules of evidence don't apply. Fairness and due process still does. It's not that they can do literally whatever the hell they want. So even in those cases, the basic principles of fairness and due process still apply, and yet when you get into these proceedings, you find out real fast. You've seen it before. You've seen other people go through this. Did you witness any of Terry's proceedings in front of the Big Dick?
Well, no, I've heard him, and I know Terry's going in there on the 18th, and I was considering going up there. That may still take place, I don't know. But, he's going to go in there on the 18th, and his ass is on the line for a year in jail. So
jeez.
That could, yep. And he held Terry on usually it's a $100 bond or bail or whatever. This one was a $50,000 bail bond, whatever you want to call it. So they've had enough of him. And I know he could use his support. And I've got my fingers crossed for him. But again, now that you brought this up, you see how my biggest fear, or what I've seen happen now, are the worst tyrants are the ones in small rural areas. Terry's in a fairly small area. It's not a real rural anymore, but everybody knows each other. And it seems that these judges, they're failed lawyers. That's why they become a judge. And they're quite comfortable. This guy probably doesn't want to run for any other political office, so he really doesn't give a crap if you appeal him or not, and he loses. So what? And that guy that's scary. And that's who Terry's going in front of again. And now, what's the point of even trying this? I didn't want to go off on that topic, but what's the point of even bothering to try this method when you have a guy like that? And we know it over years now, him, Noel, and his own son, for asking one question, was thrown in the cage.
Well, I think it's always a good subject to bring up, Tom. We're not trying to do as some of the two or three critics say, that we cherry pick. We don't discuss situations like this. I want to discuss that. I want people to know that this could be a very serious situation. And with Dick Noble, yes, with Dick Noble, it's as serious as it gets. So what do we do? Well, one, you don't have a chance in hell in front of Dick. That we know. Yep. He's not going to give you an inch. And that's why effort should be put into getting him recused and going into the higher court. Effort should definitely be put there. It's not like Minnesota where it's a $550 filing fee each time, and then they tell you to go to hell. What a business where they could turn around and say, well, if you want us to help you, you have to pay us. And then you pay them, and they say, we're not going to help you, and we're going to keep your money anyway. Wow. Why the courts in Minnesota people have not stormed there and hung all the clerks and judges, I don't know. It's a testament to just how much abuse people really will put up with. And I'm not advocating that people go storm the courts. But is that something that Terry? I don't think he's mentioned doing that when the last time I spoke to him. But that would be something. If it's coming up on the 18th, you talking like in 2 days on Monday?
Yep, correctamundo.
Yep. Well, then those aren't options. The only I guess
now that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say because to get back to your question is. With someone like that, it's like I told someone the other day, you're going to do some time. And so why do we do it this way? We do it this way so that we at least have some appealable issues that can get it overturned eventually.
Yeah, eventually. And that means he's sitting in the cage and everyone around him is scrambling to try to help him not be in the cage and run his business and such. And see, this actually transitions perfectly into the reason I called Dad's question. He's on board. He's one of the smartest men I've ever met, retired from a large computer company, and I love this guy. I call him Dad because I have so much respect for him. And he has questions. And one of the things he says, Tom, how do we transition into a no-government situation, a no government when the masses are so dependent on the entitlement idea, and they don't even understand how you can be without a government. how does it happen? It's not going to happen overnight. You know, he always asks me, how do you see it happening? I don't see it happening slowly. It's like slavery didn't end slowly. It ended. It didn't go from owning a man 100% to owning him 90% to owning him 70%. No, it ended. It took many years to get there, but it did, boom, end in one fell swoop. No more slaves. Bada bing. You don't just own the guy somewhat. That's kind of what I tried to explain. But how do we get there? I mean, imagine all the people dependent on the government for their paychecks and so convinced that the government exists. It's some kind of a deity that will do things for them, and all of a sudden it ends. It would be absolute chaos.
Well, and that's why, you know, I've spoken about a transition. That's why I think Georgism may be, you know, the type of vehicle to transition to that, because it shouldn't just happen overnight. Of course, it would be horrible. People would actually die from neglect. Well, we're up against another break, so just hold on. My name is Marc Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project here on LRN.FM. We'll be back in just a moment, so don't go away.
That you could otherwise buy.
And again, if you're on the
Amazon,
YouTube stream, I'm going to mute up the stream there and just chill out for a few minutes, and we'll be right back.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at lrn.fm.
Yes, welcome back to the No Say Project. I'm Mark Stevens. Website, markstevens.net, live from the Fortified Compound in Mesa, Arizona, where we do 4 hours of Anarchy Radio every single week. We're doing 3 of those 4 today here on LRN and streaming on my YouTube channel. It is September 16, 2017, talking about when you, and we'll bring him back, Tom from the Big D. This is a tough, these things really suck because it reminds me, not that there was time done, but there was still devastation of a good friend Bill in New Hampshire. I have a whole video from a few weeks ago, well, about a month or so ago, detailing some of what happened there. And I actually have pictures of the bureaucrats involved, most of the bureaucrats involved. And it's just a situation where absolutely nothing we do, Tom, is going to make any difference. You are in a rigged game run by a petty tyrant, and nothing is going to change. Nothing. The only hope is if there would be a jury, which is still kind of a crapshoot, that you can reach one person on that jury that's not going to be intimidated by the dick in the robe.
Well, and also, my philosophy on juries, as I've learned in the last 5-6 years here, is that's probably a bad idea because now you're giving the judge an out. If you do appeal, the jury of your peers made these decisions, and the judge, well, he's just there basically babysitting the court. So that jury, they convicted you, not the judge. I myself would probably
I'm going to take issue with you there, tough guy.
Okay, go ahead.
I think it depends on who your audience is. I think you're right when you're looking at the average person looking at the conviction. I don't think that that's the way the courts, the appellate courts usually look at that, because they know damn well that jury is only seeing what the judge wants the jury to see, and that they are getting instructions by the judge. They know just how instrumental the judge is to a conviction. That may be lost on the average person, but it's not lost on the appellate panel.
So you think it's a good idea to have a jury trial? I mean, I understand there's a chance that it could be hung. I've been through that myself, and or a person that would, jury nullification, whatever you want to call it, and hang that jury. But unfortunately, in my case, they kept bringing it back because the government doesn't care. When I first started this thing, my whole concept was to take up the time of the court. And Q really made me realize, wait a minute, you're not doing anything like that, because the judge still gets his paycheck, prosecutor gets their paycheck, cop gets overtime for being there, and they can bring you back and back and back, even with a hung jury or two. It doesn't cost them anything. Nothing.
Well, it does go as a strike, I think, against the prosecutor's office, because they're losing. Their whole thing is money, yeah, and they want their office to have as much money as possible, and that's not being used on resources such as litigation is time, and it's costly. There's no way around it. That's just the way it is. It's the way the system is geared to make is to cost as much time and resources. But they want to plead these things down so that they don't have to expend that time and energy. So are they going to bring you back 3 times if you get a hung jury twice? Unless you're such a huge political target, and it's something that a prosecutor, is thinking it's going to advance his career. I just don't see that happening. I have a problem with the jury because I've heard so many horror stories that, I look at what happened here in Chandler, Arizona, where Rebecca was acquitted. She had a full acquittal on one of the two, charges, misdemeanor. So the jury, and I'd like to think, of course, I'm speculating here, but I'm still basing it off of evidence, that because the judge was so adamant about the witnesses being incompetent that I think they looked at it, well, it's a DUI, damn, but the witnesses, she did such a good job of destroying the prosecution's case. I think they figured, well, we'll let her go on one of them. So I don't know. It's a huge crapshoot. I guess I would have to look at the more of the the context and on what's going on and what the actual charge is. If I was going to choose a jury, I can't say one way or the other how I would prefer to go. I know some would say, yeah, but the judge is on the hook to make decisions on law right then and there, as opposed to in front of the jury. But that's
Look at what happened to James in Alaska. He had a jury, didn't pan out.
Well,
the
all right.
judge can use that as an excuse. I don't know, man. I just, like you said, it's a crapshoot. But at least you can hold the judge's feet to the fire right there, then and there. And the appellate court would expect this judge to know the rules. That's just, I don't know. It's just my opinion, I guess.
Well, yeah, it could be that it's just. Well, let's look at what happened with what's going on right now with Rebecca, because her motion for reconsideration was denied. So now we have to go for a petition for review into the Arizona Court of Appeals. And it was pretty straightforward, Tom. It was the judge, look, she asked the witness, and I heard this. She asked the witness, the police officer, about the evidence proving that the laws apply because she was physically in Arizona. And the prosecutor went nuts and objected on grounds that call for a legal conclusion, even though she just asked for evidence. The judge declared the witness incompetent to give legal conclusions, and she was very good. She brought out, but he made the determinations of probable cause. This all goes to prior testimony. It didn't matter. So even though it was not a correct objection, it was completely off point. On appeal, in the same paragraph, which I have at markstevens.net, it's the one with Patricia Starr, that video, Tom, right in the same paragraph, she contradicted herself. And I'd like to think that because it's such a glaring contradiction, it's so easy to see. She admits that the question was asking for facts, and then she sustains the objection on because it calls for a legal conclusion. I'd like to think that, like you said, the judges in the appellate court know that the judge knows the law, knows a contradiction when they see it, and they'll overturn it easily. And that's why, and I think that she has a chance of doing that. And that was with the jury, though. So it's still an issue of law that the judge made a determination on, determination of evidence. And the appellate court, well, it's just one person, one judge, turned around, Patricia Starr, she went and affirmed it. But wouldn't you think, though, that with a contradiction like that, where you're talking, look, we're not saying that we want the judge to make a determination whether the laws apply or not. That's not what we're asking. We're asking that, is this fair for the judge to sustain an objection that was not on point? And that is a much stronger position to come from than trying to get them to agree with our original position, right?
Right. Well, now, how is this progressing? Is she going to move this forward? Well, they're bringing the charges back, right? Or some of them. Am I correct?
Well, the one charge, yes, because, that's why we're filing a petition. Next week, we'll be filing a petition for review with the Arizona Court of Appeals, and also a petition for post-conviction relief in the trial court. They'll probably put a stay on that because, if the petition for review is granted. I just think that there's a very good chance that because the objection led to a denial of effective cross, I think as long as we're just using those issues, that she stands a good chance of getting it reversed. So, I mean,
keep it short and simple. Well, I'd like to get back to the question, though. We kind of went off on topic. Remember, the question was, how do we transition into a no government idea reality when the masses are so brainwashed and dependent. Many, I mean, we're looking at probably 50% or more of this country are receiving some kind of a government handout, whether it's subsidiary, what do you call it, you know, whatever you want to call it. They're getting something from the government.
Right.
Who the heck is going to want to go? How does this transition? There's no way that the government could just stop in one day. That can never happen.
Well, no, and nor do you want it to happen, because that could be far worse than what we're you know, living with now. I mentioned before, I think that for a transitional period, because look, people have to understand that these are criminals, and if they don't understand that they're criminals, they're not going to be swayed that there's a better way to do things. So
and that hasn't panned out very well for us now, has it?
Well, we're getting more and more people all the time are waking up to that they are criminals. But we're up against the break, so Tom, just hold on a second. My name is Marc Stevens. We'll be back with the second of 3 hours of Anarchy Radio right here on LRN.FM in just a few moments, so don't go away.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict, or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and one with just the Edgington Post. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
You're listening to the live edition of the No State Project. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene, the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Saturday, September 16th, 2017. Silver is trading at $17.59 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,320 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 3.8 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $3,873. Antiwar.com reports a new poll from Gallup shows that a majority of Americans, 58%, are in favor of attacking North Korea militarily if the U.S. cannot accomplish its goal by more peaceful means first. Americans were split more or less evenly on whether sanctions and diplomacy could work. This is the first time since 2003 that Gallup has asked about attacking North Korea. At that time, only 47% favored an attack. The shift in the last 14 years appears to have been greatly along political lines, with an overwhelming 82% of Republicans now backing war, compared to just 37% of Democrats. The possibility of such an attack has been discussed a lot more this year than any time in decades. Repeated North Korean tests have been presented as a growing threat to the U.S. mainland, with the Trump administration declaring diplomacy a failure from the start. Despite so much talk of imminent war and a shift toward support for military aggression, the poll also showed a majority of Americans don't think a U.S. attack would be happening in the next 6 months, suggesting that most believe something short of a war is going to be given considerable additional time. Whether you're looking for precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates, like Namecheap and Amazon, at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. Or you can shop directly from FPP with Bitcoin in the Bitcoin store. That's shop.fppradio.com. UPI reports the Department of Justice will not be permitted to withhold federal grant funds from cities that refuse to assist federal immigration officials to pursue suspected undocumented immigrants, according to a federal judge on Friday. U.S. District Judge Harry D. Leinenweber in Illinois said in a 41-page ruling that Attorney General Jeff Sessions likely overstepped his authority in efforts to urge sanctuary cities to give federal agents access to jails or tip them off when a suspected undocumented immigrant is scheduled for release. The policy to withhold federal funding was rooted in an executive order signed by President Donald Trump in January declaring sanctuary cities would not be eligible for federal grants, which Sessions has been working to enforce ever since. In July, Sessions added new requirements for local law enforcement, specifically requiring access to jails and information on suspected undocumented immigrants 48 hours before their release from jail in order to be eligible for the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program. The lawsuit was filed by Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel in early August in response to the new requirements. Chicago officials said 37 municipal and county governments also filed briefs in support of their suit. For over 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals. Gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. They don't feed the banks. They're Bitcoin preferred and have removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports hundreds of protesters poured into St. Louis streets on Friday and some scuffles erupted after a Missouri judge acquitted a former police officer of murder. With the National Guard on standby in case of violence, authorities appealed to demonstrators to remain peaceful as they protested the outcome of a case reminiscent of circumstances that spawned racially charged unrest in nearby Ferguson and gave rise to the Black Lives Matter movement in 2014. Police said several protesters threw rocks and water bottles, while video footage and eyewitnesses witnessed police officers dousing at least 5 people with pepper spray about a block from the courthouse. As of Friday night, police reported making 13 arrests and said 4 officers had been assaulted. One group of demonstrators tried to enter Interstate 40, but were blocked by police officers in riot gear. Former St. Louis police officer Jason Stockley was found not guilty of first-degree murder in the shooting death of Anthony Lamar Smith 5 weeks after the end of a non-jury trial. Stockley said Smith fled in his car when the officer tried to arrest him on drug charges. Defense attorney said Stockley believed Smith was armed. A gun was found in the car, though prosecutors argued Stockley planted the weapon and that the gun only had Stockley's DNA on it. Stockley and his partner shot Smith 5 times while he was in his car. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Amid the catastrophic economic crisis spurred by Tuesday's release of This Christmas, the new holiday-themed album by John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, economic experts told reporters today the Christmas CD has quickly plunged the nation into a double-dip recession.
When investors learned that one-time screen couple John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John had reunited after 35 years for an album of timeless Christmas classics, investors had no choice but to pull money from markets immediately. We were already on shaky ground with the collapse of the U.S. subprime mortgage market and the reversal financial crisis in Europe, but consumer confidence plummeted after Americans saw the new album with a picture of Travolta and Olivia Newton-John holding cups of hot cocoa. We believe that when other countries find out the album features a Christmas song that pays tribute to summer nights, we could be looking at a global contagion. This is the blackest day on Wall Street in 2 decades.
This is the Onion News Network.
Yes, welcome back to the No State Project. Second of 3 hours of Anarchy Radio right here on LRN.FM. And for today, first time, also streaming live on my YouTube channel. I appreciate everyone tuning in that way also. It is September 16, 2017, live from the Fortified Compound in Mesa, Arizona. Glad to be with you here today. The number 218-632-9399. Passcode is 2020 with the pound sign, or hashtag, as it's commonly known now. I appreciate everyone tuning in. I want to bring Tom back. We're talking with Tom from the Big D. And how do we get to the voluntary society, which we've spoken about a lot on the show. And what I mentioned before, Tom, was I think, obviously it's not something that you want a catastrophic failure today, and then because people will lose their lives. Like you said, there are too many people that are dependent. Some of their lives depend on it. There are people, it's the only way they can get insulin. I think it was Richard Nixon 40-something years ago, people who, dialysis, insulin or dialysis, was it dialysis? I think it was dialysis. Yeah, people who couldn't afford dialysis. So you got people whose only way to pay for dialysis is through government support. So what do? You just pull the plug on them and say, F you, let the market take care of you, or screw you, you should have just had a better job. So there are people whose lives will be severely disrupted. And so that's why I think something like as a way, as more and more people, see them as the criminals that they are, and start withdrawing participation and money, that of necessity their programs will have to be cut, and at least not life programs where people's lives depend on it. And I think a good transitional phase would be Georgism, where I don't know if are you familiar with that?
No. But I do want to touch on something you just said. One of the things I said was, not that I invested in Bitcoin, I don't want to go into that topic, but Bitcoin and other things like that is taking away money from the government and really is showing that there is a way to choke it off. But no, go ahead. What is Georgism? What is that?
Well, I agree. Well, Bitcoin is definitely, and cryptocurrency in general is very significant. Especially, you got Jamie Dimon crying about it, which it could just be for show, but still, if we take it at face value, they're concerned. Georgism, Henry George was I believe he ran for president. This is going back over 100 years ago. But what he was looking at was a society where there was one single tax that would cover all government expenses, and that would be a tax on property. And given that property values increase at a far greater degree, far more than any other really commodity, if you will, as relating to wages, far outstrips that. That would be one of the more fair, taxation always being bad, but this would be one of the more fair ways of doing that and getting to a stateless voluntary society where it was just on land. Only a tax on land. That was the only thing that was taxed. So as more people move into a group, move into an area, as property value rises in result of more people moving in, then more revenue is there for basic services such as sanitation, roads, and water, for example. So I see that as a viable, or plausible, measure.
That's very interesting that you bring that up, because Dad's philosophy, again, it used to be that only landowners could vote. And he kind of feels the same way. If you don't own land, you shouldn't have a say-so. And he and I have gone around on that, but you're kind of explaining the same thing. If you don't own land, you're not going to be paying taxes, or you can't pay, or however you want to call it. And, well, should you still be able to vote? Because obviously there's going to be voting in a system like that, right? Or am I missing something?
Well, it depends on how it's set up, but I imagine there would still be some kind of direct, maybe a direct democracy where you don't have a president and governors anymore, but you have people running things that are maybe locally elected. I didn't say it was perfect. I see the fairness in it, though, in that people are still going to be paying rent, for example, and they're indirectly paying, and people who are, if it's a business that owns the land, then obviously the rent on that business is going to be paid by the community, because the community is paying and buying services. So it's not as if the community has no input whatsoever. I don't subscribe to this thing as Superman, that entrepreneurs are the are super people, and that they are entitled to all the glory that we give to presidents and you know, that now they're just regular people who, without the community, can't make a dollar. So the community does support. You know, the market is the community. So the market, you know, they are, in a sense, paying the tax themselves because it's only going through the company. The company is being charged the tax, but they're charging the market that as part of a cost of doing business. So it's not, I don't think it would be right to say that it's being borne only by the landowner. And so all the people that paid him are shut out of decisions that are being made with the money that was collected. So I look at it more that the landowner is more of, he's the guy who's collecting the, you know, the tax or the use fee from the market.
Well, you just opened a huge can of worms with what you just said. Number one, how did this guy get the land and acquire the land? And how can I, as a poor person, now acquire some land? How did he get it? Who sold it to him? And two, what was the other one? Well, I'll just stick with that one until the other one hits me again. Oh, that's it. Like you just said, but with what you just explained, people call corporations, you know, they're not people. Corporations are people. They're people that work for the corporation, as you just explained, all the people that would be involved in paying for the rent for the land and all that. It just, I mean, that's a big can of worms you just opened there, brother.
Well,
let's start with who's going to give you the land. Who owns the land in the first place to sell it to the rich guy? Or I have nothing against rich people. You know me by now. But who's going to give away the land or sell it or something? How come I can't start with land?
And that's a pretty big reason why people are attracted to socialism. That's why a lot of people are attracted to, you know, let's say anarcho-syndicalism and anarchy in general. It's like, well, what about how so-and-so acquired this land? And that's, you know, the question of property, we're going to be discussing that for years because there is no set, because even ANCAP, this is the thing, I don't know if it's a real ANCAP or not, but there are people who claim that right of conquest is a legitimate form of title to property, that you are too weak, or, well, the natives, they were barbarians, they were savages, and they didn't have the Western white European concept of property, and it was okay to conquer them. There are people that actually believe that stuff, Tom. And so, you know...
I agree with you, but you just explained it. You just said that land can be owned by someone, and then we could work for that person. And, you know, I mean, I'm going to go over this podcast again. I'll be calling you back because you opened a large can of worms on this one, bro.
Okay. Well,
ouch.
I'd be the first one to admit that the issue of property has not been settled, and anyone who says it is not being honest. I don't think so anyway, because to me, if you add your labor to the property, then yes, I think you have a legitimate claim to that. But this idea that even a small group of people can own a piece of land as large as Florida and then charge rent on everybody I can't. It doesn't make any sense. Just like anybody who, whether you're 50 or 5, the idea of owning a continent doesn't make any sense. And that you own all the natural resources in there and everybody else has to pay you? Come on, we're not 6 years.
And then when does it end? You pass it on to your kids? And I mean, that's a big question that I ask and talk about, try to with the fellas. But because I have no answer for it. Because when we die... do I own it anymore? No, of course not. Well, now how do I have, and I hate to use the word right, give it to my kids? It's that's a huge can of worms, brother. And I'm going to go over that podcast with a fine-tooth comb, and we're going to talk again.
Okay, well,
let's give some other folks a chance to call in.
All right, I appreciate the call, Tom. My name is Marc Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project here on LRN.FM, and we'll be back with your calls in just a moment. And maybe someone who understands the concept of property better.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT NoGov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to bipcot.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
The 3 most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same great prices, and LRN gets a cut. Please do your online shopping at shop.lrn.fm.
In Survivor Max 2, School Bites, Max must scavenge through a wasteland swarming with the undead. Desperate to find the medicine he needs, he discovers a community of survivors at his former school. Has he finally found the safe haven he's been looking for, or will he discover that school bites? Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, and read Chapter 1.
That can't be William Wallace. I'm prettier than this man.
News updates about what's happening with the Liberty Radio Network delivered in the way you prefer?
All right,
you
Father.
can sign up for
I'll
our
ask
email
him.
updates at updates.lrn.fm. Plus, you can stay in the loop by
If
joining
I
our
risk my
Facebook
neck for
profile
you,
at Facebook.
will I get a chance to kill Englishmen?
Is
your father a ghost? Or do you converse with the Almighty?
Free.
In order to find his equal, an Irishman is forced to talk to God. Yes, Father. The Almighty says, don't change the subject, just answer the fucking question.
Mind your tongue.
Silly Irish.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty
Smart
every
enough
day.
to get a dagger
From
past
wrestling
your guards.
superstars like
Old
Glenn
man.
Jacobs.
You guys
My
really
friend,
are
Irishman.
having an impact.
And the answer to your question is yes. You fight for me, you get to kill the English.
Where I am now is due to listening
Excellent.
to Free Talk Live. You changed
Stephen
my
is my
mind
name.
on some very
I'm the most
important
wanted
issues
man on my island.
years ago.
Except I'm not on my island,
on the
of course.
radio.
More's the pit.
Stuck in the left-right
Your island?
paradigm. I heard
You mean
your
Ireland?
show by chance
Yeah,
on
it's
Saturday
mine.
night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier.
You're
So,
a
I mean,
madman.
that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that before you guys being on the station as you are, I never found the ideas.
I've come to the right place.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Yes, welcome back to the No State Project. I'm Mark Stevens, author of Government Indicted. Apologize for that little blip there. But, glad to be with you here. It is September 16, 2017. Again, we will be live for episode 35 this coming Wednesday, so tune in for that. So if we happen to miss somebody today, don't worry about it. We will be back for the 4th hour of Anarchy Radio on Wednesday for episode 35. So let's get back to the calls here. We have a new caller. Area code 864. You're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Whoa.
And I'm up in your NSP chat.
All right. I'm sorry. I had you muted up there. I apologize. I'm late getting back from this break. What was your name again?
I'm the uppity nigger in your chat room.
Wow. Welcome to the show. And where are you calling from?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. Well, welcome to the show. Is this the first time we've spoken?
No, it's not. I'm Phil Thompson. I've been in your chat room for a long time.
That's right. I know you as Phil. Okay. Well, Phil, welcome to the show again. And what do you got for us today?
Well, everybody that comes into this program or the NSP way of doing things, we've come to the understanding that the government officials are committing crimes against us. And we failing to do the one thing, and that's call them on their crimes. And I'm thinking that there needs to be an offensive component added to our work. I've been looking into something for the past couple of years, and I've not shared it with anybody in the chat room because we have to get one side going first before we get the other side. You know, both hands need to work together. But I'm believing that if we're able to at least initiate some criminal complaints against some of these judges and cops and things, and maybe get them on the ropes a little bit, fighting with their own system, you know, divide and conquer type thing, we might be able to get some better reaction. Because I believe that if we're in a courtroom and a judge is refusing to bring out the evidence because it's supposed to be on his desk. You're asking for proof of subject matter jurisdiction. It's supposed to be on his desk. And if he's not providing it, he's committing a crime. It's just that simple. And we need to at least call him on it when he does it. The same thing for the cop. If he shows up in there and he didn't present the evidence, then he's malicious prosecution and call him on it. And actually file criminal complaints. And I know that these criminal complaints are subject to get thrown in the trash, but whoever throws them in the trash is also committing a crime, and that's shielding from prosecution, and they need to get rolled up as well. It's a big paperwork trail, but at least the crime is going to be done. And I think maybe once they see that you're going to try and hold them accountable for it, they might want to try and back off of it some with their aggression anyway.
Well, you know, the problem I have with that is it's fine if you're outside the United States and want to do something like that, because it may actually go somewhere where there's no chance of it going anywhere here. I think we have a better chance of filing when we, and I mentioned this on the last few shows, I need to get a template, and it should be a part of every motion to dismiss package and script that I sell to people, where when they do these crimes and they damage us, we should be filing claims against their insurance company. And then, not that I would suggest filing into the small claims court, because if you go to small claims court, they don't have to hire a lawyer or they don't have to have one of their attorneys do it. It actually costs them a lot more money if we go into the regular county court and they have to hire a lawyer to defend against the action. So I see that as being much more viable. And I think you have a better chance, Phil, if we file a RICO action against them. Not that that's necessarily going to go too far anyway, but it's going to go a lot further than trying to get them to take a criminal complaint against one of their own.
I see. Wouldn't a criminal complaint added in with tort letters and professional conduct complaints and what have you go a long way with helping with that process? I mean, after all, we can't acknowledge that there was a crime and we don't complain about it.
I think that if you're going to do those complaints, and I would be very cautious about complaints against the police officers, because that could be really dangerous. I think if we're going to do these complaints against the judges and the prosecutors, that we should air them publicly, that we should actually go to county commissioner meetings and city council meetings, in addition to confronting them on the questions to expose them as the criminals that they are. I think it would be a good idea to raise these complaints publicly, just so that you can get video about it. Now we can put it up on the internet, and if some, so now there's some kind of public record that people can have. So if they, like someone like Dick Noble, hopefully with someone like Dick Noble, the very least, or like Michael Cox too in Oregon, and when people type their names in, it comes up on a search and people can see what they're doing. So, maybe it would bring some more pressure if we're doing it at a public meeting like that, where a lot of people can hear what's going on. So I would say don't. So at least if it's a little more effective, I think, if we can publicly describe what's going on and the people that are doing it at the city council meeting, so other people can actually hear what's going on. So that that might actually help it be more effective. Because I agree that we should make it so that they rue the day that they ever stopped and gave us a ticket, or they had the opportunity to throw it out, and they could have just granted the motion to dismiss. I'd like them to be able to say, like at the country club, like, geez, my gosh, all you had to do was grant the motion to dismiss. All you had to do. Look at the crap storm this guy started. Every week he's here. So, that might have some merit to it.
Yeah, that's what I want to do, just at least get them thinking that there's a possibility somebody's going to take the complaint seriously and actually come to them. I mean, if we add a criminal complaint in with a tort letter, now say we got...
Well, Phil, hold on one second. Hold on. We're up against the break, so tort letter. We'll finish this. We'll continue this on the other side. My name is Marc Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project here on LRN.FM. We'll be back with Phil in just a moment, so don't go away.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit did your nerves spike. You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
Understanding your credit score is the first step towards managing and improving it. This is Charlie Sundstrom with your Van Dyke Mortgage Minute. The most influential component of your credit score is your payment history. Almost equally as important is the amount you owe on credit accounts. Also impacting your score, but to a lesser degree, are the length of time you've utilized your credit, the number of new accounts, credit inquiries, and your various types of credit accounts. To help achieve or maintain a healthy credit score, have a system set up to assure your bills are always paid on time. Don't max out your cards. It's better to have a high credit limit with a low balance. Never close old accounts. The age of these can actually help your credit score. But don't be afraid to use your credit. You need several accounts in order to have a credit score. Just keep the corresponding payments within your means. For your mortgage pre-approval and refi needs, start by visiting VanDykeMortgage.com.
Corporate NMLS 3035. Van Dyke Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Charlie Sundstrom, NMLS 134251.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Yes, welcome back to the No State Project. I'm your host, Marc Stevens, author of Government Indicted, which you can get at markstevens.net. Remember, it has a full model on how to effectively defend yourself. And I can proudly say, confidently say, that when you look at the No State Project at markstevens.net, the success stories, like the ones I just posted yesterday, that is more replication of what was learned from Government Indicted and the model of effectively defending ourselves and limiting the damage that these predators want to do to us. So a full model on how to do that. And we go through that also, that the show is support. Think of it as a support system for those who are going through this problem in defending themselves. So we also have the No State Project Skype chat, who we have, he goes by Uppity Negro, Phil in North Carolina. So welcome back, my friend. This is a great topic, and I'm glad you called in about this.
Yes, it's South Carolina. But anyway.
South Carolina. I had it written down, and I apologize for that.
It's okay. It's really basically no different. They act the same everywhere you go.
Yeah, that's that's true.
It's letting the cops off with no criminal complaint. I don't think I could do that. That they're the first point of contact, and they're the first ones to commit the crime. But my understanding is once you make that formal complaint, you now turn into a victim. And any more interaction from them has to be on eggshells, or else they will be committing felonies against a victim, like tampering and interfering and threatening. And the complaints doesn't have to just stay local. They can be sent to the FBI, to the feds, to even federal grand jury if we want to take it to them.
Yeah, I get that, but you'd have to be arguing against your original position, though, because to take it to the federal level, you have to show that there was a federal protection or federal civil right that was being violated by the state actor. So I personally wouldn't recommend that, and I wouldn't do that. But look, I'm not against filing the complaints against the police officers, and we should be doing that. And filing claims against them for what they've done with the insurance company. We get that, and like I said, we got to start doing that aggressively, and also airing dirty laundry in their crimes. So at public meetings, such as the county commissioners or the city council. I just think people need to be very careful depending on where you are. I have been personally stalked by by a police officer. I know what kind of, and he was the itchy trigger finger kind of guy that other cops didn't want to pair up with. So you have to keep in mind, that cops can be look, they're extremely dangerous individuals. You cannot, so you have to know in advance, and it's got to be something that you're willing to accept, that you could wind up being stalked or hurt pretty bad by a police officer. And hey, they could very easily have one of their friends drop a dime bag on you. And there was a cop who was on video. He didn't realize his video camera is his camera. What do you call that? The body cam. He didn't. So if that body cam wasn't on, and then another innocent guy would have been going to jail. So you have to be very careful and there's got to be some thought, and not be reckless and just file. He's the cop and he did this, and I'm going to file a complaint. Just remember, against the police officers, the repercussions and the retaliation can be brutal. Hell, they shoot their own. So,
yeah, well, I mean, we could get shot over a turn signal too. I mean, there's 6 of one and a half a dozen of the other. It has to start somewhere, and there's going to be some blood and some sacrifice. That's what it's going to take to get this job done. Because we want to acknowledge that there is some things that our society needs from the government, but not everything the government does is what's needed for our society. And I don't want to say, well, they have a job that needs to be done and they can do everything they want to do without stepping all over me. I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen to nobody. If they're going to break the law, they need to pay the price like everybody else. I want to file complaints with the insurance companies and the risk management agencies and what have you, but how can we do this and not acknowledge the crime that was committed?
Well, I'm not saying that not to do it. I would just say that for certain areas, you have to do it knowing that there could be some... Look, anytime we do it, you have to acknowledge. So as long as the person doing it understands that there is some risk, and in some areas the risk may outweigh. So where you're not going to file a complaint about the police officer with the police department, but you're going to instead do it through the by an insurance claim. We certainly should do that. And there have been police departments declared a criminal organization under the RICO. I think one of them was actually in Key West about 20-something years ago. So that's an option also. And remember, if you can actually file a civil action against them, and let's say even if it's insurance, if you get past the initial motions to dismiss, you've got them for discovery. You can get them in front of a court reporter, and you can question them. And that may be something that is, now that if you've got that, you can use that to form the basis of your, complaint with the police department. Yeah, you'll have his own words that you can use against them. So keep that in mind. Well, it may be something.
This is a strategy. This is just a strategy in the beginning start for me. I'm not trying to implement nothing now until I find out exactly what steps I want to take. But I think what needs to be done is the government actors need to be aware that there's something going to be coming down the pike at them if they don't do this thing like they're supposed to do it. And that's the only thing I think that's going to get us where they can say, well, okay, these people know what subject matter jurisdiction is supposed to be and where it's supposed to come from, and they're not going to get it. There's going to be repercussions if it don't come off of this debt.
Yeah, it should be. I believe it should be one of these things where if an insurance claim is filed, that maybe they'll say to the police officer and the judge or the prosecutor, the insurance, risk management will say, if you've got one of these situations where someone is fighting you this hard, let it go. There's 5,000 more people behind them that we can prosecute and get money from. You're causing us too much trouble. And if they, because if it goes to court, they're going to say, if they take this to court, which they damn well can if we deny the claim, this is going to cost thousands. And that far outweighs how much you can get in a fine from this guy. So I'm totally on board with that. You know, there was a number of things that I was never able to get any traction on, but I always liked the idea of what can we do for them, you know, to get them to realize that this is going to be far more trouble than it's worth. And so, you know, obviously this is in that this is what we've been talking about. So it's certainly, and on the other side too, more people that are doing that, and it's a regular part of when we do these tickets, and I know not everyone's going to do it, but if they see that we're going to city council meetings over a traffic ticket, maybe they realize, boy, these no state. Look, if somebody files a demur and fights you like this hard, just let it go. Just let it. It's not even worth it. Nolo prosequi. Just let it go.
Yeah. And one other thing, I often type into the chat room that code was not created in a vacuum. And there's a reason for it to exist. Though it may not apply to any of us, it does apply to somebody. And from what little bit of study I've seen, it applies to them and them only. And I'm going to use it on them like they do to me.
Well, I want to, we'll do one more segment. So, Phil, just hold on. I'm going to mute you up. We'll be back here with Phil in just a moment, talking about the code wasn't created in a vacuum, that it allegedly applies to them. We'll talk about that when we get back, so don't go away.
Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
The three most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. It's my firm belief that the AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented groups. Support all your favorite organizations, but make sure you give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. For years, LRN.FM has had a listen line that you can call and listen to LRN.FM anytime. Now we're taking the idea to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on-demand line. You can call 641-793-9660 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed, and you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long-distance fees may apply. Just dial 641-793-9660 and choose from the menu 641-793-9660. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America. as well as sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
Yes, welcome back to the No State Project here on LRN.FM, and for the first time ever, for the Saturday edition of the show on my YouTube channel, No State Project. So I appreciate everyone tuning into the big broadcast here today, because we also had, not only did we have the Tom from the Big D call in, we have the uppity Negro himself, good friend, supporter of the show, Phil. Welcome back.
It's nice to be on here with you, Mark. Before the break, I was saying that I often type into the chat room that the code wasn't created in a vacuum. Yeah. And I allege that it applies mostly to government officials. And the reason I said that is because as I looked at one of the federal codes under the crime and criminal, Title 18 for the feds, it goes, whoever under any color of a law, a statute, or ordinance, or regulation subjects any person and blah, 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 to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
The government officials are the only ones I know who operates under any color of law or statute against anyone. And that this code has to be only for them. It has to only apply to them, as they are the only ones that I know that use a color of a law against someone else. If I'm going to commit a crime against somebody, I'm not going to use the color of law and say, well, I'm this statute here, this statute there, and this causes me to say you have to do this. I don't have the authority to operate and use a code, but they presume that they do, and they ought to do, and they misapply them to people, and it's causing hard times for everybody.
Yeah, but what you're quoting there, Phil, what you're quoting there is a particular statute that was written because of the horrible abuses of, African Americans. It was you actually had where, unlike with people of my, complexion. Well, you go back enough, the Sicilians got the crap beaten out of them too, but not nearly to the degree that the African people were taking. You're talking about actual government policy to hurt, imprison, and kill non-white. And it was. It's why you look at the videos or the pictures of Birmingham, Alabama in 1955. The police were the ones that were carrying out the abuse. And so that particular statute, Title 18, Section 242, was passed as a direct result of that. It also had to do with, even though they could all vote, they weren't being permitted to vote, and that's why you had the marches on, with Martin Luther King about voting. So that's what that was a reaction to, because if you look at the bulk of their laws, it has nothing to do with them other than, look, taxation. Obviously, the power to tax is not limited just to government; it's to their victims. So some of them are supposed to apply, but the overwhelming majority of them don't. And even the ones that that clearly say it does apply to them don't always apply to them because they don't apply to judges. It doesn't apply to prosecutors.
But what if we decided we want to use that code and complain against them with it?
Okay.
They'll have to spend time fighting it.
Yeah.
They'll have to spend time fighting it. And we're not, we're not lawyers, and they can't hold us to that law, to that standard. And we say, well, look, we believe this is the crime that was committed against us.
Yeah.
This is the crime.
Well, hey, I have no problem in showing that their actions are not only unfair and immoral by a lay standard, but they even contradict their own rules. I have no problem doing that. As people may say, well, why do you quote the Constitution? It doesn't apply to anybody. We're bringing out the contradiction. We're trying to show how horrible their behavior was and how disgraceful it is and that they should be held to some account for that. So even though there's no evidence that applies to anybody, are they going to actually make that argument in court? Well, it doesn't apply to anybody. It doesn't apply to me. There's no evidence. Then why but you're now still convicting yourself because you stopped me. You did all this abuse to me under this banner, and now you're finally admitting that you had no basis? So if you go out tomorrow to do this to people, you're fair game to take down?
Yep.
Choose your responsibility.
Yeah. And I have it both ways, can they?
Right, and that's why people have said to me, but Mark, what if they turn around and they do say that in court? Well, there's no evidence that applies. So there you go. Like if they say, well, if there's no evidence that our laws apply, then due process doesn't apply. Right. But then you don't have any jurisdiction to do what you're doing. And if you continue to do it, knowing the Constitution doesn't apply to me or you, then you're just another thug. And I'm morally justified in putting a bullet in your head if that's what it takes to stop you from abusing me. So I well, let them say that because now we're on the same. Now we have a level playing field, jackass. No, not a problem. Well, I wish it was a level playing field. They still have overwhelming firepower, so it's. But
calm down now. Calm down.
Getting my Sicilian out there.
In the middle of the show.
Well, so far, Phil, no one has ever said in court, well, if none of this applies, then we don't have to give you due process. Yeah, but you don't have to give us due process, but you have no basis to put me on trial in the first place if you're admitting that none of this applies. It's that Republican thing. It's that white nationalist Republican garbage. Well, the Constitution only applies to white Americans. It applies to Americans. It doesn't apply to you dang foreigners. No, the due process clause directly applies and only applies to the government. Period. It doesn't apply to private actors. I think you were getting at before. So just because someone was not born here and is not of a white European background does not mean that if you're going to put them on trial, that due process doesn't apply. Because it applies to the government. No government may take life, liberty, or property without due process. It doesn't say anything about the victim. Jackasses. Well, I'm sorry. I take that back.
No, don't take.
No, I shouldn't be hurling an insult, and I know better, and I've apologized for that before. But that's a typical thing that they say. Well, the Constitution only applies to real Americans. No, you're dead freaking wrong about that. The Constitution applies to the government, and if they have to give due process, it doesn't matter who they're attacking. So, but yeah, I think what I've already mentioned to a few people, I am going to get a template for everyone to use against the for insurance claims, and I think that should be a great. I think that you're right. I think that should be. I think we've mentioned before, but we're going to have to actually do it. Whenever we do defend ourselves against these people, we have to have our own. I don't want to say attack, but we have to have our own paperwork ready to go to call them out on their crimes and in some way try to hold them accountable.
How about a potential notice of tort coming your way? Is that possible?
Well, yes, absolutely. Yes. I mean, look, I like the idea of the insurance route because there's no issue of immunity. Okay. I have no problem with the tort claim against or Bivens action if it's federal. I have no problem. I think, hey, go ahead, do it. make it so that, like I've mentioned before, Phil, that it would be a matter of policy with them. If somebody is filing this kind of motion and is willing to fight you every step of the way, just let it go. It's not worth it. Let it go, because you'll be in litigation for the next 4 years. These people don't care. They're doing it on principle. You know, they don't care about the time and energy they're spending on it. They will file against us, and it's an irritation, but it's not something that they want their office to to be impacted by.
What about professional conduct complaints too? Go along with all of that.
Yeah. I told you. I just think you have to be very aware of the situation.
Yeah.
Before again, if you're in Chicago, come on. If you're a black guy in Chicago, really, I would really think twice about filing a complaint directly against a cop. If I'm going to take hits for being a wuss, as long as you know the circumstances, you know the risk that you're taking, and it's fine. But there are going to be areas where it's too close of a community, it's too small, and you run the risk of having your life ruined. Any woman, for example, any number of women that have reported that the boyfriend was a cop, knows that their lives could be made absolutely miserable because they broke up with them. So you want to keep that in mind. So my name is Marc Stevens. We're at a break there, Phil. I appreciate the call. We'll be back with your calls in just a few moments, so don't go away.
McDonald's
hey, Phil,
is now offering bereavement
that was a great
prices,
call. I
and a
appreciate that. You
sexual
need to call
predator
in more
gets-
often. Did I lose Phil? Damn it. What the? Oh, Phil dropped off. Okay, we'll have to delete that. Well, welcome back to the No State Project. Yes, I mixed my cue again. I apologize for that. Real sorry about that. I got to stop doing that. Yeah, I was just testing something out before, so yeah, it would be cool to, I didn't know if I could plug the bass directly into the mixer like that and actually get some sound. I don't know if it went out, but cool. Welcome back to the No State Project. It is September 16, 2017, live edition of the No State Project on LRN.FM, and for the first time today, also on No State Project, my YouTube channel. I appreciate everyone tuning in, however you're tuning in. I appreciate that, and I've had some great calls. And I do want to make clear that we absolutely want to use YouTube and the other social media platforms to publicize the crimes of these police officers and their accomplices, the prosecutor, of course, and the judge. Get their names out there. And so when we confront city council members with the abuses of their fellow employees there, we can then take the video and put it up on YouTube. So like I mentioned, so when people do a search, our videos will come up. And so if we're, hey, people do it. They search family and friends all the time, especially if they're in positions like that. So they need to see our videos with the, laying out the facts, the evidence to show that these people are committing immoral acts, and they should be held to some account for that. Definitely take advantage of the social media platforms to do that. Let's go back to the phones there. Remember, the number here is 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. The passcode is 2020 with the hashtag. That's 2020 with the # or hashtag. You can also join me on Skype at FrankRizzo3. So he's been a regular on the big show. We'll go back to the Patriot 1 in Florida. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Hey, Mark. Good to hear from you. All is well in Southwest Florida.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, got my internet back today. So.
Well, excellent. Are you near Naples?
Yeah, 30 miles north.
So you didn't get the full brunt of it, but you got a pretty good dose.
Well, the eye went right over top of us, but I went 200 miles north to Ocala, where the eye went over top of us there. But in fact, I slept through the worst part of it, I suppose.
I have family in Naples, and they were they'd taken some pictures, and they didn't have flooding like they did in Key West or or like in Houston, but it was a few feet high.
Yeah, the lake where I live was up, but the water didn't get to the top of my driveway, so I did well. My home didn't blow away.
All right, glad to hear that. I have a good friend in Key West that all I know is that he's okay. And that Key West looks like, it's been hit with a bomb, but hopefully we get to hear from him soon. So actually, when I cut the new bumpers, it's going to be all of Chris's music. So we don't have to worry about when we get it posted, we can have all the bumpers there, and good stuff. But hopefully I hear from Chris real soon. So anybody else in the Key West or Miami area, hopefully everyone's okay.
Yeah, I think we did pretty well once it got past Naples. It dropped down in this power real fast, and so we did get 125-mile-an-hour winds, but everything held up. So
well, good.
As well.
Good. I'm glad. Good to hear. Do you have good news to update us with?
I don't have any news. I wanted to follow up on Phil. First of all, there's a guy named goes by rebelmadman.com, Michael Gaddy. He's an historian, and the corruption started all the way back with the first, all three of them. And the takedown of the country began back then. And then Rule of Law Radio on Thursdays and Friday nights at 9 o'clock, Randy Kelton likes to file claims with grand juries on the public officials.
Yeah, I've heard that before, but is there any evidence the grand jury actually accepted it, and investigated? Because usually, according to law in the U.S., only a prosecuting attorney can bring a complaint before the grand jury.
I suppose it depends on what it is, but if the grand jury is for the people or made up of the people, supposedly the people should have access to the grand jury. Well, it shouldn't be limited, but it may differ. In each state, it may be different.
But that's a woulda, coulda, shoulda, and I agree with you there. And if it was a just system, the people would have access to that, but it's not. And it's just like with habeas corpus. It was a great tool 100 years ago because it was any restraint of your liberty, just as it says, and it has always been. But leave it to the friggin' lawyers to interpret any restraint of your liberty to mean really jail. I mean, it's the same here. They're going to limit who has access, because would they really want the average person to have access to the grand jury and to expose their crimes and have indictments against them? Nah, of course they're not going to allow that. So I've always been very. I'm not even on the fence. I just have never seen any evidence that they have brought a complaint against a public official to the grand jury and got an indictment. I mean, has he ever published? Have they ever published such an indictment?
Exactly. I absolutely agree with you that they're so corrupt that they're not going to give up. Al Capone's not going to give up his kingdom.
No.
And every city and county, he's right about the law applying to them. Their law applies to them. Alabama Supreme Court ruled that the state of Alabama has every right to regulate itself. Just like General Motors can regulate itself, or Ford can regulate itself, or Walmart can regulate itself.
But their rules and regulations, their taxation applies to everybody outside of GM. It would be like GM taxing people all over this part of North America because they say so. And, their taxation code explicitly applies to us, according to them. It applies to, the murder, what is it, the redundant mala in se laws, about murder and rape. That doesn't just apply to them. It applies to anybody. There are certain, like the constitutions only apply well, typically only apply to them, but it gives them power over, allegedly, over us. So that's like when you talk about taxation, when you talk about the courts. Yes, the Constitution applies to them. Like due process, for example, is one of the due process is one of those things that applies only to them. But to say that the entire document or all their laws only apply to them, they're not written that way. There's no evidence they do, but they're not written in a manner that they apply only to government.
Well, I look at it like this. Say there's prisoners in Guantanamo, and they, whoever they are, will say, well, the prisoners in Guantanamo do not have constitutional rights. Well, that may or may not be, but the president applying the law to them is confined to the Constitution. So he can only do to them the same things he can do to anybody else around the world, which is nothing. Nowhere does it say he can latch a hold of anybody and shake them down and take their money. Nowhere does it say Congress can do that.
Well, it says in Article 1,
Nowhere.
Section 8 that they had the power to tax. So that's what they use.
It's specific on how they can do that. Duties, imposts, and something else. It doesn't say they can have a head tax.
No, but it gives them the power to tax, and whether or not the Constitution applies and gives, so that they can apply that tax to somebody is a different question. But as far as the document itself, I think
that's your basic question, though, Mark. What facts and evidence do you rely on to prove it does?
Right,
and they never display it.
Right, it's zero. It really shows it rears its head, and it's easy just to see this distinction when you look at a copyright violation, where you've got somebody who is, let's say, never was set foot in the United States, and is accused of a violating United States copyright law. I'm like, you don't see. This is why TTP or TTP was so bad, because they wanted to be able, the rest of the world, or that part of the world, the Trans-Pacific, wanted to be able to apply their copyright laws worldwide like the United States does. The United States is the only country that, or a government or gang that I know of, that says that their rules apply over the entire friggin' globe. Every single square, even in space. And so there it's really easy when there's no, they're not physically in the U.S., they've never been citizens, they've never been residents. What is the nexus connecting them to the law? It's literally, we said so. That's all it is. We said so. And
absolutely, and that's why I'm on Phil's side. And I like your idea of offering the template to submit to risk management or whoever does the insurance. Is non-confrontational, pretty much. But it's another learning process to add.
I think doing that is a lot less work intensive than going to court. In fact, I think just defending yourself in court and doing the role playing give you the background you need to be able to go in and defend your complaint, let's say your insurance claim in court. I think going into court is a pretty heavy duty way to learn how to defend yourself or defend your claim. So I don't think that there's that much that we have to do. I mean, that's what's so valuable in going and doing these court cases, these just a parking ticket, because you learn the process pretty well, and you have the experience, so you don't have to feel so intimidated going in and doing it. And doing an insurance claim generally will not carry with it a risk of going to jail, unless you file a false claim, which of course we're not advising anyone to do. You always have the evidence that in hand, which is what you're presenting with your claim in the first place. So I'm glad you like that. I'm hoping that it's something that we'll be able to take off, so it's a regular part of fighting one of these tickets. So people a year from now will know, will have the experience that yes, that it's just a regular part of doing it.
Well, do you think that such a claim would require a dismissal of a citation before you could file such a claim for false arrest? I suppose it would be false arrest.
Well, I think it's better to, in my opinion, I think it's probably better to show a pattern of abuse and not just one. And so if you wait until after a conviction, you've got more evidence to use against them. And you've got the judge and prosecutor that you can include in that. And so if you're suing the insurance company because they deny the claim, you can really make things, you can really ruffle some feathers by putting the prosecutor who prosecuted you on a witness list. Because you can't go after them personally, but they can't claim immunity from service of process. They can't claim immunity when they're a witness in a claim against the city. And that's got to, I mean, I think getting back to what Phil was saying, I think that might be where the real power in this comes in, that they know. They may not ultimately, look, they could say to themselves, look, we know they're never going to ultimately prevail on this insurance claim, but for goodness sakes, we can't get out of the subpoena. This SOB can get us into a deposition. And that could be really, really damaging to those judges and prosecutors because we can make it all public. We can put the entire deposition online. And so it may be the only opportunity we have. I'm liking this idea more and more, by the way. It may be the only opportunity that we have to get a judge and prosecutor under oath and question them. And because we know they're going to fight that. And all that does is ramp up the amount of money risk management for the county or city has to pay. So imagine that this is something they take into the higher court. The money that it's costing, this may actually be something that we can use against them, even if we don't ultimately prevail. Getting a prosecutor and a judge into a deposition, that may be enough for the judges to turn around and say, you got to leave these guys alone. You got to let it go. You can't be like this Dick Noble and just say F you and Abba Fongol and deny every principle of fairness and due process in the book just because you are so pro-prosecution. This is costing risk management thousands and thousands, and our judges are being subpoenaed. So
takes them off the golf course. Yeah, boy.
But fighting the subpoena could actually cost them a lot of money because they have to give. I know judges stick together, but if it's something that you and I would then be able to take into the higher court if the lower court quashes a subpoena to testify in a deposition. And bring it into the higher court. Now they have, they have to still hire attorney. They have to have their attorneys either on a payroll, and they got to spend all this money and time and resources to defend against a higher court filing because they arbitrarily quashed a subpoena for a deposition.
Sounds good. One more request for you.
Sure.
I heard your bass.
Oh,
I'm waiting to hear your rendition of Foggy Mountain Breakdown.
I'm not.
Charlie Daniels can do it on a piano. You can do it on the bass.
Well, I did okay with. Did you at least recognize the part of the song I was trying to play?
No, I think I got maybe 10 notes of it.
Well, if you're mentioning Charlie Daniels, you're probably not a Chili Peppers fan, so I wouldn't have imagined.
Oh yeah.
It was. I love the riff to "Suck My Kiss." It's one of the, to me. I know it's a simple bass line, but man, it grooves. I mean, that's some serious. I might play a little bit more if we have time, but I like this.
Or Stevie Wonder's "Higher Ground." I like that bass.
That's a little bit beyond my capabilities. I can't slap like that. And yeah, Flea is absolutely one of my favorite bass players. He's in the top 5 of some of the greatest bass players. And the intro that he does for Higher Ground is tremendous and little beyond what my capabilities on the bass.
Some of the good things in life. Thanks for letting me in.
Hey, not a problem. I appreciate the call. This has been some great subject matter today. And keep in touch. And if you have an update, let us know. Call us.
Okay.
All right, appreciate the call. Patriot One, who survived the Irma in Florida. Glad things are getting back to normal there. Some friends of mine were saying just today that they got their power back, so glad to hear that. We're going to go further up north to the East Coast there to Keith in New Jersey. Keith, welcome back to the show. What do you got for us today?
Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Great show.
Hey, I appreciate that. Hey, how are you getting the broadcast anyway? Is it on the LRN stream or are you on the YouTube?
I'm on the YouTube.
Cool.
I'm on the YouTube. I watch you on YouTube, all your videos, everything. I listen to all your videos from 5 years ago, whatever it is. I look at them all, and everything I'm doing on YouTube.
Damn. Well, I appreciate that. Well, I'm glad, and thanks to Matt and Calvin that we're able to do this. It just struck me today. I think I mentioned it the other day that I might do it, and then someone reminded me, which was good. I said, but it can't look blue. In fact, I'm looking at the live stream right now. It actually is kind of blue, but not like it was the other day. But I'm probably going to delete the live stream, and what I'll do is I'll take the video that I'm recording here, and I'll cut out all the breaks, and I'll load that up.
Okay. Well, it don't matter for me because I can't see anyway. I just listen to you.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
To me. Yeah, I'm the blind one.
That's right. I remember. That's okay.
Yeah, so I did the motion. I sent it in about 2 months ago. Haven't heard anything. You know, I was just calling in to give you an update. I didn't expect to hear nothing back from these people, but you know, I did. I put it in though.
How long ago?
About a month and 3 weeks to 2 months.
Wow.
About 2 months and about something about that, 2 or 3 days. It's close to 2 months.
Okay.
And I told them, you know, I also added in the ineffective counsel because I'm blind, and he told me, don't worry about it, just sign it. And also that I left him a phone number they could contact me, that I would not hand myself in and put myself in any form of slavery or jail, just to defend myself. And yeah, never heard anything. I didn't figure I would anyway.
So I know you can't see. So so how do you know for sure that your motion for ineffective counsel, this attorney filed it, or that it got filed, or that he signed it and filed it?
Remember when you told me on the motion, on the demur, to add that in? Because I told you my attorney, you know, he never read me the contract or anything. He just said, just sign it. So I told you about that. And you said, well, I would also add on the demur, add in, you know, ineffective counsel and the reasons why for ineffective counsel. So I just, you know, on a little blank part of the paper, you know, some of the paper just didn't have anything on it, like a little box. It was clear. I just added it in there. Well, I had somebody add it in. My friend added it in for me. He did all the writing and things. He signed. He did everything, like sign. The only thing I did was sign. He put my name on the signature thing, and I signed. But he wrote everything up exactly as I told him. And I told him, you know, ineffective counsel, that he was supposed to read me this whole contract. He knew I couldn't see. The whole program knew I couldn't see. And he told me, just sign it anyway. Don't worry about it. And, you know, and then I just also added the part, like I said, that I would not hand myself back in to jail just to defend myself. And I left them a phone number if they wanted to get in contact with me. Obviously not mine, but someone who would get right to me. And I just sent that right in with the demur.
Okay, I just misunderstood. Well, I would, and so you also filed the discovery request because you said you filed the two. So I'm saying you also filed the discovery request.
No, I just filed the demur. I didn't know if the discovery was in the demur, if the Brady was separate. I wanted to find out about that anyway from you. Should I do that anyway, and should I call in? I mean, should I go ahead and order that? Because I'm ready to order that.
No, you don't have to order that. It should have come with the original package, you know, files that I sent you, the original email. So it should be one of the 4 documents that went with that. If you,
oh, my bad.
It's all right. You know, and I have the full instructions that came with that. But if you need me to re-email it, just have someone do that after the show, or if you're able to do, and I'm happy to send that. Yeah, the Brady request comes with the motion to dismiss. It's part of that. So what's going to happen soon is that not only are we going to have the motion to dismiss, the unsigned plea of guilty, the discovery request, and the motion in limine, but a complaint. A claim against the insurance is going to be a part of that package also. And yes, everybody, I will have the instructions with that. So yeah, just get that in as soon as you can.
Listening.
Yeah, that's very important.
Well, no problem. I'm sorry for cutting you off. You go ahead.
No, not at all. I don't know why somebody is mentioning Victor Wooten here on the chat, but that certainly wasn't because they heard me messing around on the bass at the top of the hour.
Okay, so what I'll do is I guess I'll email you so you can maybe send it back out, because I don't know if it's still in my emails or not. What should I just hit you at the Mark Stevens right there? I think I still have something with you on my Gmail.
I mean, it should still be there unless you deleted it off the server. But if you don't have it, it's not a big deal. I'm happy to send that off to you or anybody else who wants a copy of the Brady request. If you are defending against a criminal charge, then I have no problem sending a copy of the discovery, the Brady request, because it's very, very important. I mean, talk about setting them up for a fall later. If you've got a prosecutor who's deliberately suppressing evidence against you, that should definitely be a part of a claim against the insurance. That's some hardcore dishonesty.
Yes, sir. And I've been listening to you about the insurance claim, and you adding that on too, and that's going to be a good thing too. It's going to be a very good thing.
We've talked about it a long time, and some people have done it. It's just we have to do it as a regular course. It should be a regular part of this. In addition to going and airing this with the city council so that we can get video, hey, we want as big an audience as possible. We want, so maybe, something will come of it. Maybe a reporter from the mainstream media or local media will see that and be interested and say, hey, this is, I don't, it's never happened for me, but, maybe it'll happen for somebody else. And that would certainly help to get some local reporting on the issue,
Yes, definitely would. Okay, Mark, well, I'm going to let you go ahead and let you get your next caller. Great show, and I'm going to continue listening and keep on listening and keep fighting the good fight.
Well, hey, I appreciate the call, and definitely keep in touch and let me know what happens.
All right. You have a great day, and everybody else listening, have a great day.
I appreciate the call. Keith in New Jersey, hopefully we get some good news on that one because it has been a rough one. And not to say that Jersey is any worse than New York or California. They're all bad, and I think there's a very narrow scale of how bad or how much worse some places tend to be. Dick Noble, yeah, Dick, you're one of the worst. You're one of the worst. Oy, what a. Okay. Another new caller. We have area code 585. You're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, hello?
Yeah, you're live on the show. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, great. Oh, my name is James. I'm calling out of Rochester, New York.
Rochester, New York. How you doing today?
I wish I was doing better. I have a serious concern, and I need some advice, and I need to pick your brain on some legal matters, and I hope you can help me out.
Well, I don't know how much advice I can give other than meeting all your court dates on timely, but I certainly can help give some, what I would do and what others have done, and see if we can get you on the right path. So just tell us, what is it, traffic or is it worse? What's going on?
It's traffic, but they have put it in a category of criminal.
Okay.
Charge.
All right. So criminal traffic, you comfortable telling us the details?
Sure. It's AUO, and it's an E-class felony.
Okay. Could you just give us the, what does the acronym stand for?
Oh, aggravated unlicensed operator.
Oh, please. Oh, yeah. I was thinking something went through my head. I was thinking it was a DUI.
No, nothing violent, nothing with an adversarial party involved, nothing like that.
Jeez. So no driver's license, is that what you said?
Right, but it's been, of course, in New York, they do this scarf thing where if you have a certain amount of tickets and you don't pay them over a certain amount of time, they call it a scarf and they put judgments against you. And I guess that's how it got to this point where it's criminal.
Okay. It's always criminal in Arizona, but in a lot of in California. So at least it's that, you know, when you get this aggravated stuff in Florida, for example, it goes from petty misdemeanor to a felony.
Right.
It's
right.
bad. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to stay out of Florida for, and I got to tell you, if you're an activist or you just have, you know, the situation where you don't have much, you know, the money to fix things, and you got to drive around without the license, which, you know, in Florida, that's a pretty big risk. So, okay, so where are we in this situation? Did you just get this, or have you had an arraignment? What's going on?
I've had several appearances where I'm a teacher by trade. I teach at all-boys charter school in Rochester, New York. So I don't qualify for public defender's assistance, you know, just regular assistance like they would give to anybody who shows up and needs counsel.
All right.
So I've been telling them back and forth over about a course of about, since I guess it would be March of last year this happened. And I guess it is in record of about maybe 5 or 6 appearances through 3 different judges. Wow. So I told them I've been listening to your program, you know, long-time listener, first-time caller, and I decided to fight this on my own, which they hated. And the judge basically handcuffed me in a courtroom because there was another incident a week before I had to go before him. Now, I had been in jail incarcerated for about a month now. And I felt like, and it was like an unreasonable bail that they set against me. It was $10,500.
Holy
crap! Bail. Yeah.
Did you speak up and say, "Excuse me, you do realize this is nonviolent traffic"?
Yeah, and it didn't matter because of the second offense, which was basically a cop pulling me over and saying that my inspection sticker was a couple of weeks past date. They basically put me in handcuffs, gave me this excessive bail that my wife and I couldn't come up with the money for. And I basically, the only option I had, according to the public defender, was to plea. And then when I plead, just to get out of jail, get out of harm's way, they wanted me to sign a waiver of appeal. So I guess that's my more specific question to you. Is there any avenues that exist where I could defeat a waiver of appeal?
Well, yeah, they ineffective counsel, and they lied. They bullied you. They said that was the only option. That's not true. A motion to dismiss for lack of evidence proving jurisdiction is certainly an option. So they lied to you.
Right. Now, we were supposed to be, when I went in for my appearance, we were supposed to be, first of all, they bullied me into a plea of not guilty, which I never entered with my own mouth, but he just accepted it because I told him I decided to defend myself. But then, of course, listening to your show, I said, well, I have a couple of questions, and I was going to use the Socratic method and kind of poke holes in the prosecutor's, you know, burden of proof. But I never even got to that because he basically put me in custody based on the July 25th inspection sticker traffic stop.
Wow.
So I was wondering what remedies, if any, do I have for defeating a waiver of appeal? And this case is very layered, it's very deep, and because there's another issue where the reason why this even went to trial was because they basically beat down my door one day and arrested me because of these particular fines, scarfs, and traffic tickets that I hadn't paid because I was intending on defending myself. So I had to spend 5 days in jail on a bench warrant, even though I was present at court, but I was in the, what do you call, the security check line. And then, of course, in Rochester, New York, we get the worst snows ever. So December 15th, when that was my particular date to appear, they closed court while I was in the security check line. But the judge put the warrant out for me anyway.
Did they know that you were in the security line?
Yeah, and they don't care. They said the ordinance was put in properly or whatever he claimed it was. I didn't have pen and paper at the time. I was in cuffs, so I couldn't question it. I was just, I couldn't write it down verbatim what he said, and I didn't have time to, order the record. So that's basically what he said, is that, it was another judge. It wasn't the judge I was seeing currently, a judge by the name of Judge Miller. He said, Judge Miller put in a proper ordinance, and I don't see an issue with it, and whatever. Basically, he just poo-pooed the fact that they put out a bogus bench warrant, and I spent 5 days in jail. And then when I saw Judge Miller, after the 5 days in jail, which was the 19th, he released me ROR. I didn't even spend 5 minutes in front of him. He just released me.
Wow. This is a mess. But I would have to point out that Buffalo probably gets hit with more snow than Rochester.
Well, we get that lake effect snow. So not only do we get the snow that's timely because of the year we're in and the season, but we also get that lake effect snow that hits us, and then man, we're doomed. We get at least 4 feet of snow every drift. It's ridiculous.
How many people died in Rochester from the snowstorm of '78?
Oh my God! I don't know. I wasn't here.
No,
I got uncles and aunts that could tell you that, but I surely couldn't.
Well, I wasn't there either. But Long Island got feet, and Buffalo people died. Thank goodness, because I'm from. I was born in Buffalo, Cheektowaga. Thank goodness my parents got us out of there, so I wasn't there for that. But Long Island got buried, and for Long Island to get buried, it must have been just god awful in up there. But I can't imagine any place in New York getting more snow than Buffalo. But okay, you can. Wow, the grounds would be. There's so much to get through here. We have. Okay. All right. We have time. Wow.
So, like you, I didn't even get to argue jurisdiction. I didn't even get to argue any of those points that you so brilliantly bring up about do the laws apply to me just because I'm in your territory or in your town, in your space? Like, where's your proof? Can you argue without proof? Does a piece of paper, does a, several 100-year piece of paper apply to me just because there's words on a piece of paper? Or do you have proof that it applies to me?
That's what you want.
Didn't get to any of that. Didn't get to any of that. As soon as I got in the courtroom and he asked me a question about the July 25th inspection sticker incident, he put me in cuffs and marched me out of the courtroom.
Jeez. Well, okay, so we've got a few things. You have to get this overturned. So the first place to start would be a motion to vacate the plea because you were lied to when you were bullied. It was not done voluntarily. They weren't going to release you, and then they lied by saying it was the only option to get out.
Okay.
So that would get the ball going.
It wasn't a part of the original. I don't know if that was a discovery or just a complaint packet. The complaint packet had the plea in it. But then when I showed up to accept the plea, and I guess about 5 minutes before I saw the judge, they shoved this waiver of appeal in my face and made it conditional upon my release that I signed this waiver. And my wife doesn't have $10,500 to bail me out. We have 3 children. I'm a teacher. We're on a teacher's income. I just don't have it, and he knows that. So he raised that bail on me to make me sit. And he even said that. He said, if you get out and get released back into the public, yada, yada, yada. So he had it in for me from the door.
Yeah, I motioned to vacate the plea because you were bullied into it and they lied saying it was the only option available when it's not. Of course, another option would have been the judge actually holding the prosecution to their burden. That's always should be the first option, that the judge holds the prosecutor to their burden of proof. He had no business, even if the system was valid, no business whatsoever doing anything until he first determined that there was a prima facie case against you, which you can't do with, opinions.
Well, they got an indictment. So does that satisfy that?
Whoa, wait a minute. You're telling me a grand jury indicted you on a traffic case?
Yeah. This is an indictment case, yes. Yes, sir.
Wait, but these are misdemeanor charges, aren't they?
Yeah, well, according to New York State, AUO is a criminal offense, according to New York State.
Yes, but it's not an indictable offense. So this isn't the federal level. The federal level misdemeanors are also by indictment because all criminal matters at the federal level are by indictment only, not at the state level. This should be... Wow. Are you absolutely sure a grand jury indicted you and it's a misdemeanor and not a felony?
It's a felony.
Oh, there you... Okay, so it's a felony. Okay.
It's a felony, but according to the criminal complaint, they were trying to seek an indictment for these charges.
But, okay, all right. So they didn't... It doesn't sound like they got the indictment, that they had to do it just by criminal complaint.
I guess so. I'm not quite... The prosecutor submitted 2 criminal complaints to me. One had 7 points of information, and then the other one that she gave me right before the August 7th appearance when I got detained, she gave me another one about a week before that, which had 18 points, which included like my driving abstract and things like that.
Okay, well, the first thing first thing is getting that plea vacated because you were bullied and he lied that it was the only option. It's not. Because you're going to have to find, and then you have to find out, let me know. It'll say on there whether it's just a complaint or if it's an indictment, it will say indictment. So look at the actual complaint itself to know for sure. Because if it's just a felony complaint, you may, if you can get the, we'll say on the assumption that they vacate the plea, because then you can get a preliminary hearing to determine probable cause. Okay, which could be a very effective tool for getting this tossed out, or at least getting the evidence against the prosecutor that they're arguing without evidence and basing it off of a witness they say is incompetent. So just like we do a trial, you can have them impeached right there at the prelim. And so that's the initial part of this, but we have to get that plea thrown out. So that's how I would start that. I would start it that way, and then
he took extra steps to kind of make sure that the plea, that the waiver of appeal, to make it stick. And he even mentioned, well, you can appeal this. There's still certain avenues you can appeal it, but based on the way we're doing it today, this is going to be final. And I know that's not true, but I just wanted to talk to you and see what other avenues there might be to combat that.
That's the initial. You've got to file the motion to get rid of the plea.
Now, being that he said it was final, should I do it through that particular court, or should I just go ahead and put it in district court?
No, you have to stay in that court until you have reason to be able to get it into the higher court.
Right.
And right now, you don't necessarily have that.
Well, I made objections, and I did mention that I believe my due process rights were violated in this case. So there are grounds for appeal. It's just I never was given enough time to actually get into the nuts and bolts of the cause and nature of the case before he decided to pull this fast one and give me the successive bail and kind of, lock me up and throw away the key, so to speak. I'm just trying to
you have to get
remedy for this.
Yeah, the only thing I would say for right now, the first thing to do is get a motion to vacate that plea as soon as possible, based on what I told you, and you have to actually quote them in there and show that the judge lied. It was not the only option. Like I said, another option would be that you could have it dismissed for lack of evidence, a lack of a prima facie evidence or a prima facie case against you, that they're making assumptions and not assuming or presuming innocence. They're taking the prosecutor's claims as absolutely true with no evidence. So that's what I would do first, because at least if they do that, you have a real fight on your hands. They may not process an appeal because you signed a waiver. So it may be you may have to do an Article 78 proceeding, an original action against them to get that tossed out. But you're not going to...
Article 78 proceeding?
Yeah, Article 78.
Okay.
What they did in New York, like in Arizona they call it a special action. In New York, it's an Article 78 proceeding. And what that is the writs are combined and put into what they called Article 78. So you can do a Article 78 proceeding, an original action, to stop the trial court from proceeding against you and review their denial of the motion to vacate the plea.
Okay. Do you have any templates for that or any such ways that I could understand how to properly put that together?
Yeah, you'll have to contact me off air about that, but I can send you, yes, I do have a template for a motion to vacate a plea. It's just a template, so you're going to have to put your statement of facts in to support your claim that this is unfair. But yes, when you contact me off air, I have to leave pretty soon after the show, but I can get that to you.
Right. And what if anything can I do about the bench warrant that was, the bogus bench warrant, because court was dismissed because of the inclement weather?
So
that particular appearance.
There was still a bench warrant pending?
No, this happened on December 15th of 2016.
Well, the only thing you could do is you can bring up after we get the plea taken care of, then you can put in that the whole, one of the other grounds to have this dismissed is they've issued false warrants against you. Two of them,
yeah.
They knew you were in the building, and see, this is the same thing that Peer Pan did in Scottsdale against Mike. And if you knew Mike, it makes the situation seem, even worse, because he's such a good guy. Peer Pan, even though Mike was in there, and Peer Pan was really pissed off at him, and especially me, Peer Pan, on the record, put down that Mike wasn't there. Flat out lied.
Right.
And issued a default against him. He raised all sorts of issues, including he was the one, James, that the cop stated that when we asked him for the discovery material, says, I'm going to let the judge take care of that. I'm like, what? And so there were some pretty big issues that were raised. There was the discovery violation, possible conflict of interest with the cop and the judge, Peer Pan, and then he just lied. He just he wasn't here. It was, and we couldn't get it reversed on appeal. It didn't matter. He was there, and they were able to prevail. So that was a really good example of just how corrupt these people are. And of course, I told the city council they didn't give a damn. But anyway, that's what I would do. And so more than likely what you're looking at is you're going to have to set them up with these motions. And so if they're denied, which is likely, is you're going to have to go into an Article 78 proceeding, an original proceeding in the nature of a writ of prohibition to stop them from doing this to you.
Okay. And one other thing I wanted to ask you about. While I was incarcerated, I was supposed to see the judge, and he put out a warrant for my arrest. while I was incarcerated.
Wow. Whoa.
Yeah, because and when I was there, I was asking the deputy. I had court that day, so I asked the deputy in the Monroe County facility I was in. I said, well, I have court today, and no one's come to bring me to court. So he didn't understand. He looked through his little records. There was no evidence of me having to go to court, so they won't take you. Turns out 2 days later, the public defender comes to see me, saying that there was a mistake. There was 2 numbers in the system for my name, and they went on the number that they went on another number, not the number that I was incarcerated with, identification number, and that other number, the judge assumed that I was bailed out and put a warrant out for my arrest.
Oh, they should have been able to know that you were incarcerated. Wow, I hate to do this to you. Please call the Wednesday show, and we have more time. I'm going to do I want to spend at least a little bit of time with the next caller. So, not much we can do about that now, but you can certainly, you've got 3 false warrants that were filed against you. That one's pretty bad. So, get with me off air. I'll send you the motion to get it started, the template for the motion to vacate the plea, and we'll take it from there.
All right. Hey, great show. I learned a lot just listening to you and being a part of the community that you have, and keep up the good work. And I'll try to call back Wednesday.
All right, appreciate it, and contact me off air to get that template. Okay.
Yes, will do. Thank you for your time.
All right, I appreciate it. All right, James. All right, it was James in Rochester. That is a horror show, so hopefully we can get that cleaned up. We got one last caller, and I figured out that I muted the. I should have muted the feed because I couldn't hear the bumpers. So hey, but we got a lot more material on the show here. So our last caller that we can take today, we have Mr. Black from Pittsburgh. Welcome back to the show.
Hey. Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing well. You got an update for us?
Do I have enough what?
Do you have an update? Some good news?
I just tuned in about a half an hour ago. So what was this here, just for good news?
I just thought I'm trying to remember, because you've called the show before, if you had something going on in court and it was good news to report.
Well, yes and no. Well, the good news is, some of the first things that you ever had out there, like beating civil traffic tickets, the very fact that dealing with that standing and no competent fact witness is very powerful, and it works. But again, like I said, the courts are like very, very, very corrupt.
Yeah.
And from what I've been seeing, like when you're on the state level, before you get, say, to the appellate court, it's really super corrupt. You know, a lot of times you can get stuff fixed on appellate level, but I mean, they know the corruption on the bottom level. They know they're allowed to. They do it, and they should be getting arrested. It's basically domestic terrorism is basically what they're doing. And but I had called in to tell you, like, the stuff that you had, that you put out. First time I listened to you, probably like 4 years ago. But like I said, the stuff is very effective. But the courts are like very corrupt, and they fight you when you don't know the law. They apply the law, but when you do know the law, they fight you on it, and arrest you to get pleas and stuff like that there. So, but I basically called it just to tell you that the stuff that you have is very good, very effective, and that's basically what I was calling in for.
I appreciate that too. Thank you very much. We do have a regular updates on the success stories, and I just posted one yesterday with the actual documents from British Columbia, and most of the shows I've done in this summer, we've had a success story that we were able to report with the documentation. So yeah, I appreciate that. It's the Socratic method is very effective. You have people who have recently talked about the backfire effect, where using facts and evidence and trying to convince somebody that their view is wrong is often a very ineffective way to convince somebody that they tend to dig in even deeper. And, that's why, it's like, to me, it was like, why even watch the video? Because, well, the cure and to get around it is just use the Socratic method. Have somebody tell you what their position is, why they think it's true, and then start asking questions to bring out any contradictions. And, it's been very effective. you know, and I appreciate, you know, you calling just to say that. You know, we've had a lot of success, and there have been a lot. You know, Terry, I wish Terry would have been able to call, but he's going to court on Monday, and so he's an old hat. I mean, he knows what to do. It's just he's going against this Dick Noble, and that's not good. I don't know if it's a felony or not, but the best you can do is just say stick to holding the prosecution's feet to the fire, make your objections, and get those reversible errors, and hope for that they don't actually lock you up, so that you are not doing time while you're waiting for a reversal. So, hey, I'm completely out of time. I'm glad I was able to bring you up.
I'll call you on Wednesday.
Yeah, I'll be here Wednesday, so I do appreciate the call. Mr. Black and Pittsburgh, appreciate the call. Yes, and I will be live on Wednesday, so definitely tune in at No State Project on YouTube, where you're watching this show. But this was September 16, 2017 here on LRN.FM. And so till we're live again on Wednesday, salud.